All right. Well, we've just about 4 o'clock, so I think we'll go ahead. I'm sure more people will come in as we're started. Um, Thank you everybody for joining. Appreciate you spending the time. We're excited to have Julianne Braun to give us all kinds of information about what Europe does with one of our key pests in strawberries, which is also one of their key pests in strawberries. Um, so just as a way of introduction, this webinar is supported by Strawberry Growers New Zealand. And I'm hosting from Berry World. My name is Molly Shaw, so I know most of you, but not all of you. So welcome to all the growers who are joining. So we've got growers from all over the country, from the South Island, from Hawke's Bay, from Auckland, from the Waikato. So I think this really reflects that cyclamen mite touches us all, no matter where we are in the country. Let's see. We also have, during this presentation, we've got a recording on, as well as a transcription. So the goal is to be able to snip the recording and make it available afterwards, as well as have a summary to share with the strawberry grower industry. I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and mute all of the participants so we can try to there's a little bit of noise in the background. That's okay. If you have a question, you can unmute yourself. So just as a little bit of a background to sort of set up what Julian's going to be talking about. Cyclamen mite has been a cyclical challenge in New Zealand strawberry production and in other parts of the world. So it's not a new challenge, nor is it unique to New Zealand. Last year, we saw a lot of cyclamen mite relatively in the fruit production after having not seen much of it for a few years. And that, while we acknowledge that when strawberry growers have a challenge with cyclamen mite in their fruit production, a lot of that is because of pest coming through the propagation material. We also know that there are steps that fruit growers can take on their own side. And we are working with propagators as well on reviewing our control methods for cyclamen mite in the propagation stage. So just as a frame of reference, though, I did to visit most of the strawberry nurseries. And last autumn, we didn't actually see signs of cyclamen mite on the nurseries or symptoms. And the same with this year. I've visited most of the nurseries this year, and I don't see the classic crinkle symptoms, neither do the nurserymen, of cyclamen mite on their properties. So the propagators have a similar challenge to the fruit growers in that trying to manage a pest that we actually struggle to see until there's a lot of it, and that's a bit late to start managing it. So we're invited Julianne from Delphi, who is a training organization in Europe specializing in horticultural training, to give us a perspective on what European growers do in the circumstances, especially the fruit growers, managing a pest that they can't see until it's kind of too late. So Julianne, just by way of introduction, is a consultant with Delphi, which is, yeah, as I said, a European horticultural training organization. And she advises soft fruit growers in Germany on all key aspects of producing high quality fruit. She visits farms regularly, so she stays well connected with the production challenges. And formerly, she was working with Colbert as a consultant, so she has a lot of experience with biologicals and working with beneficial insects in small fruit or soft fruit production systems. What I think we'll do is, as Julianne cracks into her presentation, if you have questions that are clarifying, like small clarifying questions, go ahead and ask them during the presentation. You can either put your hand up as a raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself and just ask a question. Maybe your large questions, save until the end, because she might address some of them, and then we'll have a time at the end for some more in-depth questions and answers. So we welcome Julianne, and go ahead, Julianne, and share your screen as a presenter.
Yes, I have to say good morning, everybody, because in Germany it's 6 a.m. The sun is not there anymore. So, yeah, I will share my presentation and then I go on. Can you see my presentation slide?
Yep, it's good.
Okay, great. Yeah, hi everyone, my name is Julie Brown and yeah, I'm a consultant at Delphi. My own focus is in berry production, especially in strawberry, raspberry and blueberry. And yeah, thank you Molly for introduction and for inviting me today. First, I would like to briefly introduce Delphi. Delphi is a Dutch consultancy company with the slogan, "We make growers better." And that is exactly what we aim to do, especially in horticulture and agriculture. And our work is mainly organized in three areas: consultancy, research and development, and project management. Yeah, as Molly already mentioned, one of the key questions is why cyclamen mite is so difficult to control. And the main reason is that it's very difficult to detect the mite early in the crop. And I think you have maybe some experience in that. And the cyclamen mite prefers dark and humid areas inside the plant, and where it can feed without disturbance. And the visible symptoms usually appear very late, and by that time the population is already established and very strong, and this which makes the control much more difficult. And many growers, maybe you, also only notice the problem when symptoms are already visible. That is why prevention is crucial and why early monitoring is so important. And if mites are not detected early enough, this can lead to significant yield and quality losses. Let's have a look on the cyclamen mite, how the mite looks. It's a very tiny mite, almost invisible to the naked eye. Here you see a 200 times magnification with a digital microscope, and which is one reason why detection is so difficult. And when the population becomes established and increase, you can find the eggs, the larvae, the nymphs, the adults in different protected parts of the plant, and also especially in the young plant parts. They make also occur in flowers, like here in the strawberry flower, on flower stem, on runners, and sometimes even on young fruits. To understand why control is so difficult, we first need to look at where the mite lives and how it develops inside the plant. The adult females begin migration at temperatures between 6 to 8 degrees and feed inside the crown in young folded leaves. And the female lay their eggs along the main veins of the leaf. You can see it on the left side. And where they can detect it sometimes with a hand lens, but it's really difficult to see. And after hatching, the larvae begin feeding by sucking plant sap. And during feeding, they inject toxic saliva into the plant tissue, which causes to the distortion of young plant parts. Only larvae, nymphs, and adults actively feed on the plant. And after the resting stage, the pupae, new adult developed, and the cycle starts again. So adults, you see this in this little video, movie, are usually pale brown and move slowly, and the larvae are mostly whitish. And around 80% of the population are females, which explains why population can increase very rapidly. And each female can lay up to 50 eggs, so it's quite high. So and temperature Temperature has a strong influence on the development of cyclamen mite. And you see in this table at low temperatures, below 15 degrees, development is slow and population growth remains limited. But as temperatures increases to around 20, 25 degrees, the life cycle becomes much shorter and reproduction accelerates. And you see this in the table. Under good conditions, 20, 25 degrees, a full generation can develop within only 9 days. In Europe, and it's difficult to New Zealand, the highest population density is usually reached in July, August, and that maybe is by in New Zealand, maybe February, March, I think so. I don't know if it's the right months under your conditions. And you find 4 to 6 generations per year. So the development is very increasing in 1 year. That means under humid conditions, dense canopy and moderate temperatures, the population can increase very quickly. And this is exactly why monitoring frequency should increase when temperature rise. So how do we monitor cyclamen mite? Monitoring should start as soon as new leaves develop after planting, and plants should be inspected every 1 to 2 weeks, but weekly monitoring is better, especially under very good conditions for the pest. That means 20 to 25 degrees. And yeah, take maybe one folded leaf from the cone, carefully open it, and then inspect the leaf base along the main vein. And if you use a hand lens with about 30 times magnification, you can see the mites quite good. And I put some pictures from hand lens or digital microscope above the text, and the middle of the hand lens, this has also a light, and it is quite nice to see under. If you inspect your plants in the morning, then you have a additional light, and then you can see the tiny mites quite good. So I recommend this kind of hand lens. And I also recommend sampling at least 20 leaves per block, per field, or per variety. You have to choose it, and focus especially on suspicious plants, warm crop zones, or areas with uneven growth. If one plant is suspicious, neighboring plants should always be checked as well. So that's quite important, because sometimes you see a healthy plant, but there's also mites in the crown or in the young leaves. Even with regular monitoring, many growers first become aware of the infestation only when visible symptoms appear. And in my practical experiences, this is the most of the time the growers detect the mite when they see the visible symptom. There's a, sorry, did you hear also this? Okay. Yeah, this is most of the time the growers detect the mite when they see the symptoms. One question from Molly was which symptoms appear the first? And to be honest, this is not always an easy question, because symptoms can vary depending on infestation level and crop stage. And what is clear for me, symptoms usually become visible only after feeding damage has already been present for some time. And In practice, I most often see crinkled and distorted young leaf as the first visible symptoms. And after that, you see distorted flower trusset and also dogtooth with a dogtooth shape on the stem. And also when runners start to grow outside the crown, you may also see these dogtooth runners or distorted young leaves there as well. You see it on the right side in the picture. And dogtooth means you have little hooks on the flower stem or on the runner, and you can feel it with your fingers when you go along the stem. Then you can feel the little hooks. So that's quite good to feel and see. Later, flowers may become bronze, brown, and dry. You see it on the left side on the pictures. And fruit symptoms also appear later: bronzing, rough surface, and reduced fruit size. And sometimes you think you have trips or other pests in your plant, but it's most of the when you see these pictures, it's most of the time are the cyclamen mites. We had for 2-3 years we had a big outbreak from cyclamen mite in German or in Europe crops. So there, I think the propagator has some problems to control the mites, and most of the growers didn't see any of the symptoms because they are not used to be. So that was very surprised to see this kind of symptoms on the plant, and a lot of growers asked themselves, "Oh, what I have now?" Because they thought that it's maybe trips or other pests, but not cyclamen mite. But yeah, how you have you already seen the symptoms in your own crop? Molly mentioned that it is quite in the moment, but maybe you have some experiences from the previous years. I don't know. Maybe we can talk about in the Q&A session.
Julianne, real quick question.
Yeah,
When you see those flowers that are brown, at
yeah.
that stage, can you put that under the microscope and see mites present, or have the mites already left?
No, you can. Yeah, most of the time you can see it, but when the flowers are very brown and very russet, then maybe they are they are not there. But most of the time you can detect the mites there,
Thank you.
especially under the microscope. The little movie on the start of my presentation. This was also from this kind of flower.
Thanks.
Yeah, once symptoms are visible, the next important question is how quickly cyclamen mite can spread through the crop. And the first question is always, where does the mite come from? And I think you know it. The most important source is usually infested plant material entering the farm. This is how first mite enters in field tunnels or greenhouses. Another possible source can be nearby ornamental production, because cyclamen mite has a lot of host plants, and I worked in the ornamental production, and there we have a lot of problems with tarsonemid mites, not only cyclamen mites but also broad mite. So this is also a source where the cyclamen mite came in your farm when you nearby have a ornamental production. In your production area, spread mainly happens during crop work, for example, crown thinning, runner removal, leaf picking, and yes, harvesting. And the mites are transferred mainly by hands, clothing, tool material, packaging material, and also by plant contact. And it's quite interesting that the mites can also attach to insects such whiteflies and use them for transport within the crop. That's quite important if you have problems with whiteflies or other insects that that can fly through your crop. And understanding spread helps us decide where and how to intervene effectively. Sorry. Yeah, so once we understand where cyclamen might come from and how it spreads, the practical question becomes, yeah, what can we do to control? And basically, there are two strategies, prevention and intervention. And clearly, prevention is the most important one. And the preventive measures start with clean planting material. And I know that is not every time in your hand, but it's quite important. And that, and it's also important that the production area is clean without provisional infection. So another option is heat treatment to reduce pests and diseases on young plants before planting. And some systems, dipping young plants in a pesticide solution can also be part of the strategy, but it depends on the regulation of pesticides. And it's very important when you use beneficials to release the predatory mites as early as possible after planting. It depends from temperature and humidity. And hygiene during crop work is also is essential to avoid spread within the crop. The earlier prevention starts, the lower the risk is of financial damage later. And it's important to understand that one single treatment is usually not sufficient. Oh, sorry. I have to. Yeah, if symptoms appear late, so curative measures become necessary, and that include removing infested plant and plant residue right away, because that's a good strategy. But I know the growers have some, should I say, some fear to remove the plants because they remove also yield. So that's why it's a hard decision to remove the plants. Predator release should be repeated, and pesticides rotation should be used where possible. And product choice is crucial, but coverage is of even more important. Also, spray penetration, especially because is also important because the active ingredients must reach deep into the plant, into the crown, and into the folded leaf. And in the next slide, I will go deeper into some of these strategies and explain which biological and chemical tools are most effective. Yeah, now let's look at biological control options. Predatory mites are the most important beneficials for cyclamen mite control. Several mite species show activity against the mite, and the most effective species, and I think you have it also in New Zealand, is Neoxylus cucumeris. And in Europe, we have also Amblysaius barkeri, but I think Neoxylus cucumeris is the most effective predatory mite against this pest. Other species such Neoxylus californicus, Transius monterensis, or Anasoni and Swirsky can also contribute, but their efficacy is often lower under practical conditions. Yeah, Neoxylus cucumeris is the first choice for preventive use. And we have, in Europe, we have different material where you can put the mites in your crop. We have loose material and material in sachets that you hang in your plants. So, and for all mites, we do as a preventive measure 1 sachet per line meter per 2 line meter or 1 sachet per 2.5 square meter. And we put it every 4 weeks, we put a new sachet in the plant. And if you use loose material, then you have to put from cucumbers, you have to put a high amount of predatory mites in the plant weekly or bi-weekly when you have a strong population of cyclamen mites. So it's quite difficult to control the pest. If the population is very strong, then it's quite difficult to control it with the beneficials. So predatory works best when populations are still low and before symptoms become obvious. So, and I mentioned this, that it's quite important that you have the right conditions for the predatory mites. That means nice humidity and temperatures above 15 degrees. So, yeah, biological control works best, but yeah, when the infestation level rise, chemical support often becomes necessary. And several active ingredients used against spider mites also show efficacy against cyclamen mites. And Molly, provide me with your active ingredient that you can use in New Zealand. These are the active ingredients that have the red star. And you see in Europe, especially in Germany, we have less chemicals to control the cyclamen mite, and these are the blue stars you see. So I would say we are quite happy that you have a bunch of active ingredients to control. And the strongest efficacy is usually seen with abamectin, fenpyroximate, and milbemectin. And also other active ingredients can control the mite. And I think all the products above the line have a good efficacy against the mite. In Europe, the restrictions are much stronger, and especially in protected strawberry production, we have only one product that we can use in the moment, and this is Movento. And so it's quite hard to control the mite if you have problems in the protected production. Yeah, Molly asked me if there's some evidence that the biological product Boveria bassiana or sulfur have an effect against the mite. And yeah, however, efficacy data for these products against mites are still limited. So, and I have no good experience with sulfur. I use it in some raspberry and blackberry production against other mites. There, it's quite important that you have very dry conditions and it's not hot, because the sulfur can make damage on the leaf and on the flowers, so that you have in mind when you use sulfur as a pesticide against the mite. For Boveria bassiana, my own practical experience is limited, but I found trial data from Poland. I will show you. And there shows some efficacy. They compared the product Naturalis is Boveria bassiana with abamectin, and efficacy is clearly lower, but still better than no treatment. So, and the performance depends strongly on warm temperatures and high humidities, because fungal infection requires good environmental condition. And you see this in the slide. Also after 5 weeks, after the 2 treatments, yeah, you have an efficacy of 50%. That's good, but I think to control the mite, it's not enough. But yes, that is a control option. What is important when you use pesticide is that you use a high water volume, because maybe around 1,000 liters per hectare, because it's often required to have a good penetration into the crown and into the folded leaves. So it's very essential because there is where the mites are protected. In Europe, we use a wetting agent like Silvet, Gold, or Breakthrough, or whatever. It's you have a wide range of products there, and the wetting agent can improve the efficacy of the pesticides. Some growers only use the wetting agent because with the wetting agent you come very good in the crown and in the folded leaves, and they use a higher concentration. But the efficacy only is only for some weeks, 2-3 weeks, and then you have to repeat the spraying again. So that is quite important when you use only one wetting agent. Before I worked for Koppert, I worked as an independent consultant, especially in the ornamental industry. And there we had some trials with potassium sulfate and rock dust, because I mentioned that the cyclamen mite prefers humid and dark areas. And our question was, if we make the heart of the plant dry, maybe then the cyclamen mite has no good conditions and they will disappear. And that's why we have a try with potassium sulfate and rock dust to put out the humidity, and so that the conditions for the mites are not so good. And yeah, that works a bit, but it's only with rock dust. It's quite difficult to get it in the crown. And yeah, potassium sulfate, you have to be carefully, because that is a game of concentration, and sometimes the plants doesn't honor this treatment. So yeah, successful control always required a combination of strategies. Biological control and chemical control can be combined, but compatibility must always be considered, because some pesticides also affect the beneficials. Also if you use biologicals and a chemical, you have to look for, is it compatibility with the beneficials. It's quite important. Yeah. In Europe, large propagators often use heat treatment systems such as plant sauna to reduce or eradicate important diseases such colotortrichum, powdery mildew, gray mold, and also to reduce pests like cyclamen mite. And plant sauna works with precise temperature control steam to disinfect plant material before planting. And some large growers have also invested in smaller plant sauna systems for their own use. But it's still uncommon because the systems are, quite expensive. So after looking at biological monitoring and control options, I would like to summarize the most important practical messages. First, I know this is not always fully in your hands. Start clean. Second, monitor early and act before symptoms spread. That's quite important. Yeah, combine predators and chemistry if necessary. Repeat the treatments. And finally, focus on crown penetration. In cyclamen mite control, timing is often more important than treatment. And of course, local climate, product availability will always influence which strategy works best in practice. And yeah, with that, I would be happy to discuss your questions and yeah, also experiences with this pest.
Thank you very much, Julianne.
Yeah.
And so I'll go ahead and when you ask a question, make sure to unmute your microphone first so we can hear you. I can start out with a question because I'm curious. So in New Zealand, I'll be right with you, Bert. In New Zealand, we have both plug plants and bare root runner plants available for growers. And for bare root plants, a hot water bath treatment is an option. Do you have any experience with hot water treatment for cyclamen mite control or prevention?
Yes, some growers use it. They use the water temperature like 40 degrees, not 40 to 42 degrees, but it's not common because it's quite, should I say, difficult to do this. So most of the growers don't do this, but there are some, they try to use a hot water treatment, yeah. Most of the time they try to dip the plants in a solution with a pesticide, but we don't have the abamectin, the Vertimec, and not anymore. So they couldn't dip the plants in a solution. So that was in the past one of the most important measures for cyclamen mite.
Go ahead, Bert, and make sure you unmute yourself first. Bert and Brigitte.
Yeah, a question about, because you talked about that insects can transport cyclamine. How is that with bees and bumblebees? Can they transport cyclamine as well or not?
Yeah, they can transport them, but I think there have to be, I think the bumblebee or a honeybee doesn't go to a flower that are damaged. So I think that maybe they can, but I think the bumblebee doesn't meet cyclamen mite on the flower because the bumblebee or the honeybee doesn't go to a flower that are damaged from whatever. So I think that's maybe a problem. Or not a problem, but maybe that is a factor that they don't meet any.
Clear.
Because, yeah.
Do we have any other questions from the growers? Oh, I see a hand in the air there. Go ahead.
There you go. Yeah, hello. I'm just wondering with the chemical bath, how many plants can you treat before you retreat your chemical bath or change the mixture?
How many plants you can put in the solution, or what was the
Yes,
question?
that's right. At what point do you have to reapply chemical to your chemical bath or change the solution before you do another dip? How many plants can you run through a bath?
Oh, yeah, I didn't understand quite well the
Julianne,
question because
this may be a question about soil floating around in the water bath. Does it inactivate the chemistry?
say I have 100,000 plants.
Yeah. Okay.
How many
Yeah, of
can
course.
I treat?
Yeah, that can be, but my experience is that the soil or whatever goes down in the plant, and we should mixture the solution quite regularly, so that you have a good solution of water and the chemical. So, and then I think it's not a problem, but maybe you have to, to mixture a new solution after so much organic matters are in your tank or whatever you use. So then maybe you have to use a new one. Because if you put a lot of plants with, maybe you use tray plants or mini trays, then you have a lot of soil or substrate, and that, maybe you have to mix it new after, I don't know, I can't say a number of plants. You have to look for yourself. Is the solution very dirty? Then you have to make a new one.
Okay. Thank you.
Ollie?
Yes?
Can I just ask a question in regards to the dipping solution?
Yeah, go ahead.
What was the product that you use in Europe in regards to the dipping solution?
We always use ivermectin, but in the for 2 years now we can't use it anymore because it was banned, and we can't use it in the strawberry and in the soft fruit production. It's banned. The regulation are very strict in Europe, so we can't use it anymore. I know that some growers try to use other pesticides, like I can look from, like mite, but the results are not so good as with ivermectin.
Okay, do you know what rates were used, like what concentration?
There was amount of concentration in the regulation. I have to say sorry, I have it in the moment not in my mind, but I can write the solution for down and send it to Molly.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
We can follow. So I guess the question is it any different than the spraying rate for dipping?
Yeah, of course.
Because the other question was, I wanted to ask was around time frame. How long do you dip for?
So, sorry, can you repeat the question, please? Sorry.
If you're dipping the plants in your solution, pesticide solution, how long would you leave them in there for? 1 minute, 5?
No, it should be very fast. It's only maximum 1 minute, because if you use it depends from the plant material. If you have naked roots like frigo plants, then it goes quite fast. You put the whatever you use and maximum 1 minute. And if you have plants with substrate, mini trays, then you have to put it a bit longer, because the substrate have to soak in the solution, so maybe it takes a bit more time than 1 minute.
Oh yes, understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you include a wetter if in the dip solution if you're you say you're using a pre-plant dip?
You can use it, but I think most of the growers use only the active ingredient, no wetter in when you're dipping the plant.
Mm. Are there any other questions from the growers?
I have a question in regards to after you've dipped them, how long do you have to wait before you're able to plant them again and handling the plants again?
Sorry. You have a question to ivermectin, was it right?
Yes. So in regards to that,
okay.
yeah.
And the question was, sorry, I have some bad noise. Sorry, I didn't hear it properly. Sorry. Can you repeat it again? Sorry.
After you've dipped the plants, the bare root
Yeah.
plants, in your pesticide solution, how long after that can you plant them, go and plant them?
Anita, is
immediate-
this a worker safety question, like a handling question?
Yes.
Yeah. What is the PPE gear or timing considerations for handling plants after they've been dipped?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to plant it immediately because it should be, you dipping your plants in the solution, that takes a bit time, and you storage the plants, but I think after 1 day you should plant the plant, because then it should be dry out. So that's why the growers dip the plants in the solution, and then they try to go put the plants on the lorry or whatever, and to go in the production system and plant in the whatever it is, in the tabletop or in the dam or in the field, whatever. It's quite immediately after dipping. They don't try to storage the plant then for 2, 3, 4 days or so. That doesn't happen.
So, and when growers in Europe were using abamectin as a dip, what were the worker safety? Did they wear gloves or aprons? What did they do for workers?
Yeah, that nobody's told you. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you have to use hand and gloves. It's. I think it's necessary. I have to say that it's not a nice work, and usually the growers don't like to dip the plants, but it's the most effective solution against cyclamen mite, and also other pests like spider mites or aphid eggs or whatever. But yeah, they have to wear gloves, and yeah, they have to maybe they have to wear we use plant protection clothing when you spray pesticides. Then most of the workers have to wear protection clothing, and I think you should wear it as well when you're dipping the plant in the solution, because when the water comes to your clothing, I think that should be water, rain like rain clothing, so that no solution comes to your clothes and to your body. So that's quite important.
I have another question in regards to, once you've dipped the plants in your solution and you're going to go and plant them, say within the 1 day, won't the irrigation water that you put on the plants out in the fields wash off the sprinklers that you put out in the field to irrigate the plants? Won't that wash off your pesticide solution?
Maybe a little one, but the time between dipping, storage, and planting is enough that the active ingredient goes inside, especially very short systemic pesticides. So they goes quite quickly into the roots and into the plant, and into the leaves. So I think that's not such an issue. But yes, of course, maybe a small amount of the active ingredient wash out a bit from irrigation and whatever. Yeah, but I think before the irrigation wash out, then most of the active ingredients are inside the plant. That's why it makes no sense to use a contact pesticide for dipping. That makes no sense in my point of view. You have to use systemic products.
So if you dip your plants, what stages of the cycle mite can you kill? Because if you spray, you can kill all the cycles, but if you dip, is that a different story then?
No, it's not a different story. It depends from the product. We have some products, they control only the larvae and the adults. Some products can also control the eggs. You see on the above, there is Apollo. This is the spider mite control product, and they only control the eggs and the larvae, but that doesn't work very well against cyclamen mite. So, but the first products you see in this list, they mainly control all stages of the cyclamen mite. So if you take Movento especially, yeah, that controls all sucking stadium of the mite. They can't control eggs because the eggs don't feed on the leaves, so they only control the larvae, the nymphs, and the adults. So that you have to in your mind. But after the eggs hatches, the new larvae will suck on the plant, and then they suck the spirotetramat from Movento, and then they is always killed from the active ingredient.
Because if you spray, you kind of have the same story, but it's not if you spray that you can kill all the stages from the cyclamite. But if you dip, yeah. do you mix chemicals then, or are you only using one?
No, we only using that is a regulation issue because we had only abamectin as a dipping solution, so we couldn't only use this product. So that is one problem. But I think if you get maybe cold store plants like rooted plants, then maybe there's only the female adults there because the female adults overwintering. And if you have cold stored plants, then maybe only the adults are in there, and the most of the products control the adults. So that is quite good. Huh?
Okay, thank you.
I'm imagining trying to work out the worker handling bit. And a question that comes to my mind is, could I plant the plants and then do a drench? Or is that less effective than doing the pre-plant dip?
If you have a systemic product like Movento, you can also drench the product. It's no problem because then the product can be from the roots. It can take up in the plant, and then it goes in all plant parts. So that is possible. But if the product is not systemic, then it can't take up from the roots, and then it doesn't reach the plant, the tissue or whatever, or the flower. So that's quite important to look for what kind of product I use for the drench. That is quite important.
I'm thinking one follow-up we can do is to add to your table of chemicals and their relative efficacy. We can add their impact on cucumeris, and we can add if they're systemic or not, and then we can send that list out to the group.
Yeah. One question, do you use often beneficials to control the cyclamen mite, or only pesticides?
This is a good question for the group, because I'd like to hear what you have to say. Ooh, we have silence. Well, I'll pipe up with, I don't have the depth of many seasons of experience as some of the growers on the line do with controlling cyclamen mite. However, last year we did have cyclamen mite in our variety trial, in Lincoln, and I got to see it and watch it develop. And we saw first symptoms in December, which was 6 months after the plants were planted, quite a long lead up. And it happened to be just after I had released Cucumeris, which was targeting thrips, incidentally. So we continued the production through March, but we did not do any other miticides for cyclamen mite control. I wanted to see what the Cucumeris would do on its own. And by sort of March, when I last assessed the plants, we don't have very much foliar symptoms. The Cucumeris does seem to have really slowed down the reproduction of cyclamen mite. However, it has spread now to just about every single plant, but at low enough levels that you can only assess it by seeing it in the folded leaf under the microscope. I'm not seeing leaf or fruit symptoms.
Okay.
So that's my one-off experience, and I'm really interested to hear if other growers on the line have other experiences with using predatory mites on cyclamen. It may be an area we don't collectively have a lot of experience assessing the efficacy of, actually.
Hello, this is Andrew. We use predatory mites in conjunction with an oil spray once a week, and that takes the adults off, and it generally leaves the eggs behind. We found that quite effective this year.
Okay.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, my colleague in the UK, they only use predatory mites to control not only cyclamen mite, also spider mites and thrips and whiteflies, because they have not many pesticides that they can use, so they work very preventively with mites and with a high amount of mites. And so, yeah, of course, that costs a bit, but they have good results to control the cyclamen mite in the production areas, mainly in the tabletop system in the tunnel. So they are quite happy with usage the predatory mites to control the pest. So, and they uses high amounts like 500 to 1,000 mites per line meter to control the mite. So maybe that helps you a bit.
We have time for probably one more question from the group. I can't see all of you, so if you have a question, unmute yourself and pipe up. Well, Julianne, do you have any last words for us? What I will do after this is I will summarize the presentation, and I will send a recording of the core bit of the presentation out to the group in the next few days. Sally, you have a comment or question?
I just wanted to thank Julianne for her time, and Molly for setting this up on behalf of strawberry growers. It's been great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoy it very much.
We also really appreciate you dealing with our time difference, which is massive at the moment. Thank you very much for accommodating us.
Yeah. Yeah, I will send you the information so that you can spread it to your growers. And I'm quite interesting to know what is your experience, and maybe you can contact me over Molly, and so it would be quite nice to hear some question again. So maybe we can stay in contact.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it. And we'll be in touch. Thank you very much, Julianne, and thank you for all attending.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.